Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Tuesday. I hope it finds you well. Our toll-free number 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And we had a bevy of earnings. We had Bank of America. We had Morgan Stanley. We had retail sales, and all of it being just bad enough that everybody on Wall Street likes it. This is what it is. Bad news is good. Good news is bad. And we got enough bad news. B of A, they beat. It wasn't great, huge bond losses on their portfolio. Morgan Stanley, they had a little tougher time. Morgan Stanley shares suffering as sales and trading disappointed, credit loss provisions. And this is kind of a theme here, soaring now at these companies. And, of course, we know commercial-backed real estate and any other hiccups could lead to even greater losses there. And then retail sales, which we'll cover in the next segment. Just good enough. Jason, a little higher, not a lot higher. And if you take out this and you take out that, it was lower. But definitely not robust retail sales from the consumer.
Yeah, I don't know. From where I'm standing, I don't see a lot of people spending a lot of money right now. You know, this has been going on for a year. It's been slowing down. So I believe those numbers do continue to go down, Joe, as we finish off 2023 and move into 2024. Just weird. There's weird things going on, right? I've been talking to people about jobs and businesses and spending. Never seems to have any information coming from the people saying, "Oh yeah, everything's great." I'm just hearing that very few times now.
Yeah. Then the last report. So, like I said, we got quite a bit of data today. U.S. Industrial production was much softer than expected. They were expecting it to be flat. Came in with a 0.5% decline, the biggest drop since December of 2022. All of this has gold and silver rallying again and again. I keep telling you, this is the opportunity here. We're seeing gold and silver reacting. We had the sell-off with the inflation and rates going to be higher, but now everybody's kind of under the same, I guess, gist, which is, hey, the consumer's slowing down. There is no doubt that the consumer is slowing down. And Jason, the hope is if the consumer slows down, but not a lot, just slows down enough that inflation can come down, and, of course, Wall Street, we won't have a recession, and that is, I'll be honest with you, I would love that. That'd be great, because gold and silver are going to be great. But that is the least likely possibility, and I don't care what you look at, what index you look at, what rate hiking cycle you look at, whatever your favorite indicators are, pretty much all of them say there's really no good way out of the situation that we're currently in. And let's face it, they printed way too much money, Jason, and you don't just magically say, well, we'll just take some of the money back and magically everything's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really work that way. There's a day of reckoning. Let's just say that, and it's coming, and we'll see how much longer the markets can hold out, I guess, so to speak. I think we're getting ready to play that Bubba Horowitz clip maybe in the next segment, and he's going to talk a lot about this sort of thing, about how the bottom's getting ready to fall out.
Yeah. So, and again, remember we talked about him yesterday. The big news there, he is and has been. Rates were going to be higher than people thought, and he's turned out to be right here. He's got his thoughts about what is going to happen here, and I just want people to be ready. I hope they get ready. This is why we bring Joey on every Monday. This is why we've been talking about why refi. The most risky place to be right now, and it's really pretty easy, is the stock market. It really is. That's the riskiest place there is. Why do I say that? Well, there's only like 7 stocks, really. The Dow's 35,000 today, right? But 7 stocks that have been doing most of the heavy lifting. And then when you look at earnings, year-over-year earnings, they're going to be down 7 to 10%, which would be like, well, the Dow was now 33,000. You would think, well, that would put it in the 20s, just to keep the same value. They've actually gotten more overvalued, believe it or not. But this is how a lot of these things happen, because they never want to learn the lessons of the past, do they, Jason? They just want to keep the illusion that, right now, the illusion, they're still printing the money. They're still printing the money. They're not printing the money. They really aren't printing the money. Wall Street thinks that they're going to. That's kind of the difference. And you know what? They're going to be right, but they're not going to do it until after the fact. And I think that's the biggest difference because, let's face it, with all the manipulated data, like retail sales, none of that data is true. None of it. They literally massaged every single number. I can tell you exactly what retail sales were if they would just put that number out. But who wants that when we can seasonally adjust everything? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Monday. A quick look here at the markets. The Dow up 360 points, 34,960. It actually at one point got to 35. The S&P up 16, 4,500 and change. The NASDAQ is down 18, 14,000 and change. The 10-year note falling. This is what they love, 3.76. Interest rate hikes be damned, right? Yes. The bond market saying, here's what the bond market's saying. The bond market is saying Wall Street's on crack. That's essentially what they're saying. Wall Street is Hunter Biden, full on crack doing, you name it, prostitution, the whole shebang. Gold's up 30. You heard me right. Gold's up 30. Shouldn't be surprised. 1986. By the way, every futures contract in gold back above $2,000. Matter of fact, the June contract, June 2024, approaching $2,100. Silver up 30 cents, $25.15. Again, futures contracts all above $26. We're going to play Bubba Horowitz here in a minute. And after that, if you're thinking, you know what, maybe I need to take some of that Wall Street stuff. Because listen, you got to be diversified. I'm not telling you not to be in Wall Street. We've never said that. But you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about it. Check out our friends at Y Refi, up to 10.25% return. Fixed. It's fixed. It doesn't change. Right? Wall Street could be up 350. It could be down 3,000. They don't care. The bond market can say you're smoking crack. They don't care. Fixed rates of return. You can turn your income on. You can turn it off. If you ever need your money back, you get your entire principal back. Check them out. Invest. YRefi.com. That's the word invest. The letter Y, REFY.com. Or call them at 888 YRefi 24. But again, Bubba Horowitz, if you guys are in the gold markets or the precious metals market, and really the commodities market, because that's where he specializes, you know who this guy is. Been around a long time. Gets a lot of crap because he'll tell you that gold, and he'll say this, listen, gold and silver long term, you got to be there. But sometimes he'll tell you, hey, the short term, it's not going to be so good. And he's really good at it. He is. I got to give him credit. I disagree with him sometimes, but he's really good at it. But he's been warning And he was out with another warning the other day, and I just want to, pay it. Do with this warning as you wish. Jack, let's play Bubba Horwitz.
Let's start with the latest that we saw this week. The inflation numbers, they're telling us it rose just 0.2% in June, less than expected, as consumers, these are the headlines now, get a break from price increases. So providing more welcome relief to American consumers who have been crushed by unrelenting price increases. This is what the headlines are telling us. But are you breathing a sigh of relief yet, Bubba?
Can I say what I want to say? I know
Yeah.
I can't, so I won't. But look, this is the biggest bunch of crap ever reported. It's all garbage. It's all a bunch of rhetoric. It's a facade of that maybe inflation is getting better. What it's really trying to do is to make an excuse for the Federal Reserve and what they're going to do. This is it's total crap. We have inflation still skyrocketing. Just look at your gasoline prices. Just look at the food prices when you go to the grocery store. This is, again, I urge everybody, look at what you're spending yourself and then look at what the BS numbers that the government gives you and tell me if it's really 2% and if we've had a relief in this month. I see no relief, and I see no relief forthcoming for quite a while because of the way that we've done things. And you have Saudi Arabia continuing to cut production of oil, which is only going to drive up our key ingredient, which is fossil fuels, because that is 80% of everything we do.
Yet they're trying to convince us that we should be, like, to your point, everyone I speak to, and including myself, I'm not feeling the relief yet. I mean, I have my husband charting strategically where we should be pumping gas, to your point. So I don't know what they're trying to convince us of here, Bubba.
Well, they're trying to tell us how dumb they are, and they want us to be as dumb as they are, or how they're trying to fleece the American taxpayer with this, what we would call taxation without representation. Because the inflation that we are seeing today is inflation for taxes and is because of the misspending of government. This is not what we would call good inflation, where it's because products are under demand.
Yeah. And then we're still getting the opposite message from the Fed, right? It's been a while since I spoke to you, so I want to get your take on the latest from the Fed, where Powell's saying they're still not happy with what they're seeing on the inflation fight. So, yeah, they took a pause, but more rate hikes are coming. What do you make of the more rate hikes narrative? I know you've been steadfast on saying that we're going to head back to QE, but they're saying more hikes are coming.
No, I think more hikes are coming. I believe that the 10-year notes are getting to 6%, which is the key benchmark that we're using. That's what they use now for mortgages instead of LIBOR and things like that. The Fed is nowhere near done. If they want to get their target, which we know is totally wrong, to 2%, and we're at over 4%, how much more do they have? How many more hikes do they have to go to get there? Well, it brings the rate up, the 10-year up to about 6%, which is where we're probably going to go, and we're going to destroy another big piece of the middle class because they won't be able to afford to live in the environment that we're in right now.
What's your latest thoughts on recession, Baba? I mean, we obviously, when I say we, the market completely missed it. We all thought recession was going to come in the first half of this year. That has not been the case. What's your take on recession? Is it no longer happening? Are we still headed for one?
I think we're in a recession now. I don't think that's changed. I've been in that. We're in a recession now. Just because some economists won't call recession, Larry Summers, who was Obama's economist and who was their chief, says that we're in a recession. Now, whether you believe him or not, look, we're in a recession. And again, this goes back to everybody personally. There's no jobs. The jobs aren't paying. The commercial real estate's breaking down. The regular housing market is breaking down. What do you want to call that? Party? Should we call it New Year's Eve?
So explain to us what's happening in the NASDAQ and the S&P. A few weeks ago, we saw, just a rush back into equities here, Baba. Talk to us about the enthusiasm surrounding AI stocks. I mean, is the investor back?
Well, first of all, volumes are extremely low. Okay, I would call this the greed phase of the market, which to me is the final rally that we're going to see. 5 years ago, if I would have told you that I could give you 5.5% on a CD in the bank, people would have kissed me and they would have jumped up and down and had a party. Now, it's not good enough for them because they're watching what's going on in this market. This market has all the appearance of retail trade only. It has all the appearance of the big banks sitting there waiting, allowing the retail traders to push this market higher on very light volume, waiting to give them a good crack in the head and have this market collapse. And I would say that I'm still making my statement I've done with you for about the last 6 months, that before this move is over, we will see 50 to 70% to the downside. And I stand by that. This rally is as artificial as it can possibly be, almost as artificial as the AI stocks that are running up. Very similar to the big run-up in the 90s.
When does it break? What's the catalyst that will just break that and we'll see the numbers you're talking about?
Well, I mean, I can't really say exactly when it'll be. I mean, that's obviously the impossible task. But, I mean, interest rates keep going up. The housing market keeps collapsing. The commercial real estate starts to feel more pain. The retail stores will have some more pain. And eventually, really, the markets don't announce themselves. These things just show up. And I would expect it to, one day we're going to walk in, and listen, we're not going to be down in one day, but all of a sudden there's going to be some tension and some nerves, and the selling is going to start, and then it's going to start to accelerate. Where that comes from, that I cannot answer.
We know how much you love gold. So talk to me about your thoughts on the BRICS saying they're preparing to strike a blow against the U.S. dollar. Last week, the Russian embassy in Kenya declared the BRICS countries are planning to introduce a new trading currency which will be backed by gold. Now, do you believe the news headlines? I mean, obviously, if they take whatever's coming out of Russia with a grain of salt, what does this move signify to you?
Well, I think it's probably true. I mean, look, let's face it. When you weaken a nation, which President Biden has done with his policies and giving Saudi Arabia and China more power, China is pretty much behind Russia, and they've been trading gold for oil for years. Okay, this is not new. And the fact that they're talking about a currency that is backed by gold makes a lot of sense. I mean, really what you're saying is we want to take the central banking system out because, again, if you have an actual backing against a currency, there is something that actually gives you absolute value. I mean, you have in this country, Texas and Missouri who want to go to the gold standard again. So again, I think it's real. I think it's probably going to happen. Is it a true blow to the U.S. dollar? Not at this moment, but certainly
right.
it gives you cause for thinking.
Right, because it's not something that obviously happens overnight. But does it change anything for you? I mean, are you looking at news headline thinking, I should be adding to my gold position here, or you feel good with what you have, or maybe it's not changed anything for you?
I only get my news from you, Danny, and I would say to you that, listen, I'm a buyer of gold regardless of what's going on in the data. And if you look at the markets in general, gold has not been exactly flying since Russia said they were going to go into this BRICS nation. So, look, at the end of the day, I think gold is a buy at any time because you're playing the long term. I'm not telling you about buying paper gold. I'm talking about going out to buy physical gold that you can store, that you can forget about, that you're not going to have to sell tomorrow to pay your car payment.
Yeah.
That's the key. You have to be able to invest in it and hold it like you hold your house.
Well, it has, like you said, there hasn't been much excitement in the gold space these days. So on the flip side, I'm going to ask you, what are you doing with your Bitcoin?
Jack, we can hold it right there. So then he goes in and he likes Bitcoin too. He likes Bitcoin too, especially if the dollar really does unwind. But again, remember how he starts with it, right? And here's a guy. He spent his whole life on Wall Street. He's a Wall Street guy. He's a commodities trader. He's been a commodities trader. And you hear what he says about all this information. Hey, they're not being truthful. They're not being upfront with what is really happening, and there's going to be a price to pay for all of this, Jason. And again, I think he's talking about a 10-year note at 6%. Now, I don't know if he was misspeaking. He says the Fed's funds rate's going to be 6%. He said the 10-year note was going to be 6%. Right now the 10-year note's at 3.75.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Joe. I still think that we're starting into a rate hike, a higher higher rates for a long time now. They're going to change. They're going to reset the economic system, and higher rates are just here, permanent. I don't see them going down. We're not going to have 0%. I don't see that happening again right away. Of course, I don't know exactly what they're going to do when it comes to printing money with higher rates, Joe, because we know that the debt, interest payments on the debt are going to balloon out of control. But I'm guessing they're going to have some sort of a play for that too, and it's all going to be circling around this digital currency. So that's a good clip. Good clip by Bubba Horowitz. I've seen many analysts with the market say that there's going to be a market melt up, Dow to 36,000 or something like that, and then losing half its value or more. I've seen a lot of guys say that, Joe, and there is a lot of sense to that situation. And the question is going to be when. He said it there too. He's like, you can't call these things, the timing on these things. It's impossible. But we know it's right in front of us. We just don't know if it's a month or a year or what.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing in all of it. When you look at, again, historically speaking, from valuations to rate hike cycles to shrinking the money supply, none of these things ever end up the way we think. Patriot Radio News Hour will be back after the break. (800) 951 0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour, and we have a huge update in the markets. You know, it's kind of funny because you can tell this clip was last week, right? Right after the CPI number came out, and gold really hadn't moved, right? You know, gold's up almost $100 since he did that interview. Of course, silver is up almost over $2 since they've done that. So the move is starting to appear here. And this is what I kind of said last week. I think gold and silver now are over the rate hike scare. I think that you know, and that doesn't mean from day to day there may be, you know, something like when the Fed raises rates next week, they may be a little pullback, but it definitely looks like, Jason, we're going to have higher highs and higher lows in both of these markets. And the big, you know, we talked about silver inventories. Gold inventories are very, very similar to silver. Decades low. And I'm talking about inventory. I'm not talking about inventories at your house, or we're talking about inventories, deliverable inventories at the exchanges, at the London Metals Exchange, at the COMEX. And a lot of what they're listing as available, they don't own, right? It's one of those tricks that they, you know, to try to make things appear better. It can't be available if they don't own it, right, Jason? They can say it on paper, but they do, you know, the funny part is they do break it out, so they kind of wink, wink, nod, nod, but they let you know we don't own this amount. But when you watch the headlines, if you follow it just headlines, you would think gold, even those inventories are way down, you would think that it's a little better than what it actually is.
Yeah, it just feels like nobody tells the truth anymore. You know, everybody's got a scam going on, Joe, and they got to tell you one thing, but it's a completely different thing when it comes down to it. And so, if you get the people to believe your scam, then you get to make some money off that, right? But when has anybody reported what they actually hold in gold? Because it's one of those things you're supposed to keep private, right, Joe? How many ounces do you have? You don't tell. Joe doesn't come on the air and say how many ounces he owns. Right, that's something you're supposed to keep to yourself, and so there's never going to be any honesty when it comes to gold at all. Amongst other things, hey, buy the stock market, buy this crap, you know, buy treasuries, buy more debt. Don't listen to these guys. Yeah, just don't listen to it, Joe. It's all
be careful,
it's all
right? Yeah, be careful. Understand what it is that you're doing. Continue to add to your holdings here. We've got great sales going on right now in the silver complex. Rolls of silver dimes, $110. Buy a quarter bag, $5,500. Gold's up another 30 cents. Up another 30 cents. Quarters, $220. Quarter bag, $5,500. Again, even with prices up, $20 gold. We ran a special like this a few weeks ago. We did real well. We've got another big opportunity. Here's the great part. And Jason will tell you, listen, a lot of people, they've hit the tap out button. Hey, I got to buy a car. I got to fix the, we had one. Hey, my AC went out at my house. And they said it's not fixable. I got to buy a new unit. I don't have $10,000 for a new unit, right? So we're seeing all of the stress levels out there, but I've got an opportunity today on $20 gold pieces, $100 off again. Now this time the price though, $21.25. You think about gold's almost at $2,000, $21.25. Jason, I mean, that is so close to the spot. It's a great opportunity. 800-951-0592. Supplies are very limited. And what I mean, well, what's very limited? We got like 43 20s at $21.25. Once they're gone, they're $2,225. So 800-951-0592. Keep adding to your portfolios. This is, when you want to buy is when people have to sell. That's always the case, right? Why does Bubba Horowitz tell you don't buy Wall Street? What did he just say? Hey guys, the banks are setting you all up. Real light summer volume, all of this melt up, you're going to get excited, and then they're going to wipe you out. When do you want to buy? Well, when the wipeout happens. This is what's happening here with gold and silver, right? We had that gold was almost at a record high, right? Almost 2,080, and it's kind of funny. The June contract for 2024 is at a record high. But you want to buy today. Premiums have come in. Today is when everybody else has to sell, Jason, that's when you want to buy.
Yeah, this is a great time to buy. I came on the air with Patriot in 2018, and I was telling people this is the good old days. It was sitting there doing a lot of nothing, and you could buy a $20 gold piece for $1,250, $1,250, or maybe $1,300. And it took about 18 months later, 2020, and the coronavirus, emergency, and then boom, it was up. I mean, it was already going up in 2019, but suddenly you have to pay over $2,000 for these coins now. The same thing is happening now. We're getting ready next year, maybe 2025, but I'm really getting a sense that it's going to be later this year or next year. The next leg up is going to happen, so you might as well buy it now and quit trying to play the timing on it. Hey, maybe it'll go lower. Nope. It's not going to behoove you to sit there and try to price it at the right time. And if you're sitting there with savings, you just haven't figured it out. We have no problem talking to people and letting you understand what gold is. I know there's a lot of people that know they need to buy and they just don't know what to do. You can call the 800 number. You can call my Colorado phone number, and we'll talk to you about gold and silver and let you understand. This isn't some fly-by-night, buy it and then sell it back to us in 2 weeks. That's not how gold works. We'll let you know how it works, why you should buy it, have that discussion. And if you have any questions, we'll answer all of those, Joe. We don't talk about that too much, but we do answer all the questions so that you understand what it is. We don't want you to get into something that you have no understanding of and you feel very scared of. We have no fear of it because we know how safe it is, how great it is to sit on it, Joe. Have it and buy it. Sit on it.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, we've been here for 27 years, 28 years now. We've been a member of the Better Business Bureau. I mean, I had to start over when I bought the company from Eric, but we haven't had a single complaint, not one, ever. Just don't do it. Why? Because we don't rip people off. We do what we say we're going to do. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people appreciate about doing business with Patriot is you're going to get a good price every single time. 800-951-0592. We'll talk about the testimony from the director of the FBI and what your banks have been telling them. That's coming up next. 800-951-0592. The big special $20. They're all big. $20 gold pieces. 21.25. $2,125. Gold's up another $30 today, bumping up on $2,000. Silver, dimes and quarters, 110 on dimes, 220 on quarters. Get a quarter bag, $5,500 at 800-951-0592. The House Judiciary Committee, we don't do a lot of this here, but it was important. The FBI Director, Christopher Wray, was testifying. And this is something, if you guys follow our Half Empty Cup of Joe show, other members of the FBI had testified in the January 6th investigation, but it's always interesting when you get the head guy. And he said that the FBI regularly obtains innocent Americans' personal data from companies with the intent to potentially charging them with a crime. He also went on to say that the banks are one of the main places they've been going. He told Congress the other day that Bank of America provided them what he called a huge list of its financial records for Americans who use Bank of America credit or debit cards around the Capitol January 6th. Now, I don't know what around means. Right? I don't know what around means. How far around? Right? I mean, if you were at the Capitol protesting, you were not using your debit card. Right? So, again, I'm wondering, was it January 5th, January 6th, January 7th? How many days was it? No warrants, no court hearings, just blindly turning records over because the FBI asked them to do so. He went on to say a number of business community partners all the time, including your financial institutions, share information with us. And my understanding is that that's fully lawful. So I guess, Jason, it's lawful if he says it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're talking businesses, I mean, if anybody there's a lot of pressure. You know, when somebody with a badge comes up and says they want something, most people will just capitulate. They just do it. So I don't know. I guess it is lawful if someone just gives it up freely, Joe. Now, if someone didn't want to give it up and they were compelled to or they're forced to without a warrant, then that's wrong. But I just get the feeling a lot of what I'm hearing, people just folded and just gave it to them, Joe. That's what it sounds like.
Yep. And they, by the way, at least Bank of America specifically, but my guess is all of them. Anyone who had ever purchased a firearm was highlighted at the top of the list. How about that? When questioned, was there a warrant involved? The FBI director replied, again, my understanding is the institution in question shared information with us as it happens all the time. Trying to unearth whether the information was voluntary and just handed over, or was it actually requested. They asked the FBI director, did you request the information? Ray's response, I can't speak to the specifics. That was his answer. So, no warrant. And I'm not telling you if I asked for it, if we asked for it, or if they just gave it to us. Sounds like kind of crazy that they would just give it to them, Jason.
Well, that would be the question. Was it given or was it taken? That would be
Either way.
That would be it, right? Yep.
Another reason to keep less money in your banks. Just another reason. It's incredible. No warrants, no nothing. Just hand it over. And think about what they did. They didn't say, hey, I want to get this guy's information. Remember the Canadian thing? They had specific people who donated money.
Yep.
That's not what he said. Oh, no, anyone that used a card in Washington, D.C., we got all your information. We knew if you bought breakfast, if you got a coffee, right? We knew if you went to a ball game, right? And Jason, I got to believe, right, the vast majority of those records, none of those people were even at the Capitol.
That's very likely, isn't it? That's very possible. I don't like things like this, Joe. I don't like, that's one reason I like cash is I like transacting very privately. That's the digital currency is something I dread when it shows up, Joe. It's I don't like being
for all the
surveilled.
people out there that say this isn't happening. This was testimony from the director of the FBI to the Judicial Committee last week. This is absolutely happening. And of course, he went on to say, right, we do this with a lot of businesses, right? We knew they were trying to censor Twitter and Facebook, but Jason, the compiling of records, absolutely alarming. And again, remember, they also said, oh, by the way, we work with the cell phone companies. We pay for data, so therefore we don't need warrants for those either.
Yeah, well, there you go. More surveillance. Yeah, that's Ed Snowden. He's still out there telling people about how your cell phone is your enemy. How you got to be careful if you use such a thing. So, it's the word privacy is going to be a bad word in the future. I think, Joe. Privacy. You don't need privacy.
Yeah.
What do you need to hide? What do you need to hide?
Yeah. You wanna have some barterable material so you can be private? Yeah, you might want to call 800-951-0592. When we get back, I'll squeeze it in. Bloomberg saying China and the Gulf economies getting even closer. That's coming up next. $800-951-0592. $20 gold pieces, $21.25. Save $100 a coin until they are gone. And then we've got dimes and quarters. Thinking about the testimony from the FBI director. Hey, it doesn't matter. If you are in the wrong place, that we've decided, we'll just call the bank. They'll give us all the records. We don't need a warrant. We don't need anything. You don't even have to be involved, right? Can you imagine all the people? I can't imagine how many people use their debit and credit cards in Washington, D.C. It's Washington, D.C. My guess is you probably can't pay cash for anything, right? So, hundreds of thousands of people. This is absolute insanity, and the digital currency is coming. It is only going to get worse. Having some privacy materials is going to be a very, very important thing in the future. $20 gold, $2,125. Rolls of silver dimes, $110 a roll. Rolls of silver quarters, $220 a roll. If you're brand new, you've never done this before, buy the specials. Why? Well, because they're the best price. You're going to pay the cheapest price per ounce, and you're going to get the right products. If you have questions, our staff here will answer all of them for you. It is so, they make it seem like owning gold and silver is difficult. It's probably like the easiest thing in the world. Just to give you perspective, $1 million in gold would fit in your wife's purse. And you could still have all her stuff in there. It fit in her wife's purse. Used to be when I started, $1 million of gold would fit in a shoebox. Of course, when I started, gold was like $250. It's now $2,000, right? But it'll fit in your wife's purse. I mean, that's how portable it is. Silver's a little different, right? Silver's a little bulkier, right? But a case of silver eagles, 500 ounces of silver, is about the size of a shoebox, just to give you some perspective on it. But just call the 800 number. Just tell the girls, hey, I want the special. 800-951-0592. No, we don't have commission salesmen. We're not going to try to talk you out of the sale item to buy some rare, unusual coins. We don't do any of that. No bait and switch. We don't have a phone room. We don't make outbound calls. You're not going to hear from us all the time. Heck, we don't mail our deck. We don't do any of that stuff, Jason. It's just something where if you want to do business with us, we appreciate your privacy and we appreciate your time. You want to do business with us, you call us. It's just that simple, Jason.
Yeah, great company to work with. And if you're listening to the show in Arizona or in Colorado, or if you happen to be streaming 1360khnc.com, we'll ship it anywhere in the country that you're listening and want to buy. And it's very easy process. You actually get to talk to a real person. When you call the phone number, you're talking to a real person. You got none of that robotic voice thing and putting you on hold and that nature. Sometimes when we're busy, you might go on hold. Might have to wait to get your order in, but other than that, it's a very easy process. Very good company to work with, and locally here in Arizona and Colorado.
Absolutely. 800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back with the half-empty cup. We're going to have Steve Stars with us. So Steve always brings some great information. God bless everybody. Jason and I will be back with Patriot Trading Group tomorrow.